Well, for more on those elections in Nigeria, I'm joined here in the studio by geopolitical strategist Emmanuel Iga, who's also the author of the Nigeria Handbook, which is a compendium of information about Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed for coming to see us.
Thank you.
These issues which cause the postponement of the election in Nigeria seems to be a bit of a pattern here. It's not the first time this has happened. And I'm just wondering whether you think this kind of postponement and delay and these irregularities are likely to affect voter confidence in the whole voting mechanism, and also is it likely to affect turnout?
Yeah, it did affect the turnout for sure, because you do have a lot of people living in the big cities like Abuja, like Lagos, who were registered in their states of origin. And because the Nigerians generally prefer to go vote in their states of origin, they had to pay their way from Abuja, from Lagos, from different big cities to their states of origin on the 16th, for the 16th, the initial date of the election, only to be told practically on the day of the election that the election was being postponed. And that meant they had to find a way to return to their bases. Many of them are, working in these cities, so they had to go back and they had to look for money again because they're financing these trips by themselves. So they have to go back. For sure, some of them definitely didn't travel back. I know some of them that I actually called and they said, well, I can't go back a second time to my state. That's one part of the problem. The other part is that, of course, when you have a situation like this where the country is not demonstrating a great efficiency in managing election for a country of less than 200 million, although it's the biggest democracy in Africa, the biggest population, but we look at a country like India, for example, with over 1.2 billion inhabitants, and they have seamless elections without any big problems of logistics. India is a subcontinent. Nigeria is just slightly less than 1 million square kilometers. So it's not understandable. We had elections in 2011. The elections are for 4 years, and election of 2011 was postponed.
So it's
at
really
the last minute too.
It's really like to have annoyed people.
Of course.
To the extent
Then
that they might
2016 it was postponed again, but that was understandable because we had problems with Boko Haram insurgency, and security was not assured. So they postponed for like about 6 weeks in 2015.
But they didn't have that excuse this time, did they?
Now, we don't have that excuse of Boko Haram, although Boko Haram has not been totally subdued.
Okay.
This time, it's another problem of logistics, as in 2011, which means the country is not demonstrating that we can learn from the past.
Okay. Let me just move on, because I want to ask you about the two sort of main people in this race, in the presidential race. We're talking about the incumbent Muhammadu Buhari facing off against the ex-vice president Atiku Abubakar. And it looks like it's going to be a really tight race, doesn't it?
It's a very, very tight race. This is one of the toughest elections we've seen, mainly because the two candidates are from the northern part of Nigeria. They're both Muslims. And Buhari has been president, has been head of state before, and, military head of state, then was elected civilian president. Atiku was the vice president for 8 years with the regime of General Obasanjo. So the religious factor, the ethnic religious factor doesn't come into play between the two of them. So we are looking more at the personalities of the two candidates. Abubakar Atiku's personality as businessman, for example, somebody very well known in the business circles, is owner of very big companies that are working well, particularly one company that is managing the big ports of Nigeria. Intels is the owner of American University in Nigeria. So he's somebody to whose heart education can be said to be close. It's not exactly the same perception in terms of Buhari's personality. We are here with somebody who, well, in this outgoing government, has not been able to dedicate, for example, more than 5% of the total budget of the nation to education. So that aspect there is going to play a lot, the personalities of these two people. But Buhari came on the ticket of Mr. Integrity. I'm going to fight corruption, etc. And he tried to, take the anti-corruption fight to a certain level, although it's still perceived as a very lopsided, sectional kind of a fight, because most of the friends of the president don't seem to be, disturbed by the anti-corruption agency.
But let me interrupt you because we're
found to be corrupt.
We're running out of time. But I just want to ask you about the policy pledges, because you've talked about anti-corruption there as being the key pledge of Buhari. But Abubakar has, as you've been mentioning, he's got this business background. He's put the emphasis on the economy. And Nigeria is still feeling very much the effects of the recession in the country back in 2016. Was the economy front and center in this campaign? And who has the best credentials then to fix it?
Well, economy was mentioned a lot, but I think more of the attention, as I was saying, was on the personalities of the two people. The economy aspect, how do we analyze it? We had a country which became Africa's largest economy in 2015. It is still Africa's largest economy, with about $400 billion of GDP, gross domestic product, today, as against over 500 billion in 2015. So Buhari's regime has not been able to sustain the growth of the gross domestic product. We have issues with large-scale, mass poverty, and many analyses made on, the issue of poverty have led to the declaration that Nigeria is actually like the poverty capital of the world today. Then we have issues with the youth. So many in teeming numbers coming out of universities and high schools
looking for jobs.
Over 25 million of them. And these are the things that if Buhari is re-elected, he has to grapple with this. And if it is Atiku Abubakar, his main challenger, then also that is going to have to be his priorities.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. I'd love to talk to you for longer. Thank you so much for coming to see us. Geopolitical strategist Emmanuel Iga, author of the Nigeria Handbook. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us.